Sue Dewing, CEO of the Sturt Football Club. CEO, Executive Director, what do you like?
CEO.
CEO. Welcome along to the Blues Cruise. And welcome along to the Santa Fe from Wayville Hyundai, great sponsor of the club.
Oh, absolutely, aren't they?
Brilliant.
I'm driving one of their Tucsons at the moment.
Nice.
So it's, a nice vehicle.
Would you like some heated seating?
Yes.
There we go.
Show me all the
look at that. There
benefits.
we go. So that'll warm you up. We're at Unley Oval right now. Let's take a little cruise. Good luck with my driving. Righto. Now I better ask, Sue, what was your first car? Can you remember?
Ford Cortina.
Really?
Yes.
Manual?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
And what colour? It wasn't brown.
It was white and it had the gold GT strips.
Really?
On it.
So that made it go faster?
Absolutely, about 10 miles faster.
Now, before we get into footy stuff, I've spoken to you in the past, we've talked a little bit about your time in the US in different roles, and you told me that you used to look after, was a lot of functions at Pebble Beach Golf Club. Yep,
so I was the director of events at Pebble Beach Golf Resorts.
Well, it's not a golf club, is it? It's like you're saying, resorts.
It's
How many?
resort.
Now, some of the people, because you're talking around Carmel, Monterey and that, but the first thing I think of is that's Clint Eastwood down, wasn't he? He was the mayor of Carmel, I reckon, at one point.
Yeah, so Clint was also the on the board of directors.
What about you when you just say Clint? Like, as in, that's like, because if you know Clint, it's a bit different than we just Clint Eastwood, Dirty Harry, Clint. So that's amazing. So you obviously spent some time with him.
Look, he was.
Just say your best friend.
He was no.
No, but you obviously.
No, I knew these people to say hello, but didn't actually know them that well.
Yeah.
But met quite a few. He was on the board of directors. So you would often see him, and he lived in Pebble Beach and owned quite a bit of real estate around the place. So you'd end up going to different parts of Carmel, and he might be sitting in there at a piano or a bar, and because he owned it. So you would often see him around.
So when you see him in person, and you obviously would have spoken to him and met him, that sort of aura, the gravity around him, can you feel it?
Yeah, well, I have a prized photograph of myself with him, where he's got his arm around me.
To see someone like that just walking around, it's bizarre. As we said, I imagine there would have been a lot of people you got the opportunity to rub shoulders with. Who are some of the others that we know of?
Bill Murray, every year there for the AT&T Pro-Am.
Yeah. Caddyshack, Bill.
Yes, and he was quite funny. I remember bumping into him one day. I came around a corner and I walked straight into him, and that was quite interesting.
Yeah.
And look, we had John Travolta, Whoopi Goldberg.
And these sort of all these people are coming to functions that are on at there and all that.
Steve Jobs. Back when I was there the first time, Apple would hold conferences there, and Steve Jobs.
Wow.
Have met quite a few.
Yep.
And when I say me, it's just a hello. I've met Donald Trump. Came through our office one day, and that was interesting.
Tell us. What did you think of Donald Trump? Well, obviously, when you see him,
I was probably going to disappoint people, but he was actually very pleasant.
Right.
And he was very, very, very charming.
Yeah. Was it orange? His face?
No, not back then.
Because he had like his orange with those white bits around his eyes. I don't know.
I don't know what's going on.
And I could imagine the extravagance would have been extreme.
Oh, look, back then. Some of the events that I was helping plan, were in excess of $1 million just for an event. Often see private jets coming in.
Hang on, so private, so you have to essentially, there's no commercial stuff going there. They're just people with their own jets landing.
At the private,
pretty much,
at the private airports, yes.
And they needed 3 of them in that area.
Yes,
because there were that many.
Yes,
that many planes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I do have a funny story.
Yeah.
One of those. So one night at Spanish Bay, which was one of the resorts in Pebble Beach, one of the board members, he Mr. Uberoff. Wife really liked the flowers that were on her table, and she said to the staff, "Oh, these flowers, they're absolutely beautiful. Could I take some?"
She wanted the centrepiece.
She wanted the centrepiece, and they said, of course.
Yeah.
Naturally, and she said, "Well, could you get them out to the plane?" Because they were leaving.
Oh, she came on the jet.
Yeah, she came on the jet, and so they organised that. And a bit later, they got a call from her saying, "Where are the flowers? You know, I'm ready to leave." And they said, "Oh, but they've already been taken to the plane.
Yeah.
We've sent them and been told that they're there." And she goes, "Which plane? My husband's or mine?"
No.
Yeah, true story.
They both come in
yes,
two separate.
In two separate planes. One time, going back to famous people.
Yep.
We saw the guest list one day, and John Major was on there.
Yeah,
and
right.
No one at Pebble, because Americans can be very insular. Nothing happens outside of the United States.
Of course.
And Californians probably even worse.
Yeah, right.
But he was on the guest list, and I was like, he's a former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. This is a big deal, and because I'm English, and so it was, pretty big deal for me. And they said, "Oh, well, if it's so important to you, Sue, why don't you meet and greet him when he arrives and give him a gift?" So
you got to do that.
I got to do that. And
I want to ask about the Sturt Footy Club, because you're obviously a long-time supporter. You love the club.
Yes.
And what were your first memories of the Sturt Footy Club when you were younger?
Reading the paper and having not actually seen a game, but knowing that I barracked for Sturt for whatever reason, I don't know. I was a 10-pound pom.
So how old were you when you came to Australia?
6. I don't know what the moment was that I realised it was Sturt, but I would read the paper, the stats on a Sunday, and I figured out that Davies and Graham and Bagshaw and all those players, they must be pretty good because their stats were always very good. So I hadn't actually witnessed a game, but sort of liked them on their stats.
Right.
It just, I was probably a bit obsessed.
Yeah.
I talk to some of my girlfriends and that now, and they're like, "Yeah, you were always destined to end up there."
Why? What was it?
I don't know what it was. It just, I was just obsessed with footy and Sturt. And so what a privilege to.
It's amazing.
I was studying for an MBA, and so I wasn't working at the time. And my husband said, "Look, go in. Why don't you help out Sturt with some sponsorship and all that sort of stuff?" And just donate your time, which I did. Matt resigned, I think, in the October of 2013. And so the board said to me, "Look, so you've been there most every day. You know what's going on a bit. Would you sit in as interim?" I was like, "Yeah," but it wasn't something that I had really wanted to do. And so I did that. But I got to the point where I thought, oh my God, if we go out and look for a CEO, it's going to take them 6 months to probably learn the lay of the land. And I don't think financially we've got 6 months left in us to be teaching someone how to do this. So that's what made me put my hand up for the job.
And you said, "I'll do it."
Yeah, but I did have to go through interview process.
Oh yeah, of course.
And, the board did their due diligence and everything, as they should.
How dire was it? Because we've seen a lot of SANFL clubs or SANFL clubs over the past sort of decades or so really struggle. Well,
it was pretty dire. I remember, having access to all the bank accounts. We had a few of those. And there wasn't one that was black writing. It was all red writing. And I'd probably have about 4 nights a week where I would wake up in a panic. Really? Just trying to juggle how we were going to pay things. I mean, we hadn't paid the players, for God's sake. The very fundamental of a football club is your players. And we hadn't paid them in such a long time. And we had pages upon pages of creditors, and we had a big tax debt. We had bank debt. We were on the bones. Then we had a couple of very generous people come in and donate some money towards keeping the doors open.
Oops, get rid of that.
And basically, if it wasn't for those couple of people, I don't think we'd be here today. They gave us we had enough cash to keep trading.
Just for that period
and
of
then
time. Things
started to just fall into place.
And what were you able to do? What did everyone do together? And you obviously led this.
We were able to pay off the tax debt, which was huge, but we also, we stripped back everything. We actually ended up having to pay our players less than what we were paying what other clubs were paying. Unfortunately, that's always seems to be the first thing to go, which is absurd. But we stripped back. We found a lot of saving in different things. And then we had a couple of wins. Like we were doing the right thing by grouping our tax with our venue. But there were some SANFL clubs that were doing the wrong thing, and the tax offer or the government sort of caught up with them. But they forgave them for doing it. But Tom Koutsantonis was the minister at the time, and he said, well, that's all very well that we forgive about 5 of the clubs for doing the wrong thing, but what happens to those clubs that have done the right thing? We should refund them the money. It was payroll tax. And so I think we got about $168,000 back. Right. And I'll never forget when that hit the bank account, just how important that was to pay off some things, some creditors and that. And we were, it was funny because we had lunch with Tom Koutsantonis and a couple of his aides to say thank you. And we, were happy to pay for that lunch. And I'll never forget him saying something to the words to the effect that I'm with a bunch of Liberal supporters. And don't forget this. And I'll never forget terrific. When he said that. But
So you've essentially been in control for what, 12 years or so now? God, has it gone quick?
It has. It has gone very quick, but there always seems like there's something more to do. We've had we first had to get rid of the debt, and we did that successfully, and we've had so much redevelopment, and but we're working on new things now with the Urbray Agricultural High School, our second oval project, where we just received actually some government funding there to have our second training oval, where we can put some change rooms there. So there's always something. I'm never bored. I would like a year where I can just sit back and watch footy. But
you can't
haven't had that.
Not when you're running a club. No. So when the club's on the bare bones, and then within 3 or 4 years you get that first flag in a while. Run us through what that was like, 2016.
That last quarter for me went in slow motion, because I don't think I had actually contemplated us being the premiers. I think I was just on such a high that we had got there, and then in that last quarter I thought, my God, I think we're going to win this. And I don't think I really appreciated how big that was, because I think I was in so much shock that wow, from where the club had come, and now we were the premiers, and we were the toast of the town, and it was just such a good feeling around the club, and the culture of the club was just so incredibly high. We had some really good people in place, and the playing group was just, those guys had gone through the really rough times of not getting paid regularly, and some of them paying towards some of their uniform and things like that, and to get that reward for them. And then of course the following year, 2017, that was just epic, beating a fully loaded AFL side, and that was sensational. 40,000 people. It was wonderful.
It must have been just a crazy feeling to go from where things were in a pretty relatively short time in football.
Yeah.
To win a flag.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you get a chance? We were talking about before being in the moment and so on. Did you get a chance, whether it was that day or that night, where you got to really soak up what had happened?
Well, back at the Arkabar was good fun, but no, I don't think I have, and I think because we were still in the throngs of getting the club back on its feet. You know, we were in a much better position, but we weren't comfortable. And I keep saying to Jason and I often talk like we'll leave the club. We just need that couple more premierships where we can just go, wow, you know, smoke a cigar and you know, and not have to worry about you know, who's on the creditor list the next day or whatever. You know, if we had that opportunity, I'm sure we'd both enjoy it a lot more. But we did enjoy those 2 moments.
So you're obviously delegating something. Do you find some things harder to delegate than others?
Yes, I suppose, on the event side of it.
Well, you've been running multi-million-dollar events around Pebble Beach, so you're right, you've got to hand them over and go, okay. But
we've got a great footy department, and I'm not I always think that the role of a CEO in the football club is the business side of it. Yep. And sort of overarching. I'm a fan of footy. Yep. I don't know what, you know, particular moves Marty's making on a field, and neither should I, and I shouldn't question him. You know, we believe we've got the best coach going. Yeah. And I trust him, and I trust Chris, our footy manager. Chris Redgold? Well, Chris, our director, Chris Trapp. Yeah. I trust that we've got the best people, and that's their role. So I just have to sit back and enjoy games of footy. Yeah, right. Do you get to enjoy them? I do. I always see you running around any time I'm at Unley Oval. Yep. You're doing every role possible. Well, at Unley, just want to make sure that, you know, the match day experience is really good. But I do actually enjoy away games. Yeah. Because I can just go and watch and When you're watching an away game, do you start looking around going, all right, what have they got here? What are they doing? Can you actually enjoy the footy, or are you too busy sort of assessing the experience and what they're doing? When I'm doing that, I'm actually looking at what they've copied from us. Because I think we do it better. Well, absolutely. There's no doubt about that. And now, you were the first female CEO at a SANFL club, weren't you? Yeah, and in the AFL as well. Really? Australia, it's a pretty significant achievement, breaking the glass ceiling, because we've now seen, certainly in that time, the last decade, there are a hell of a lot more women involved at board levels across the AFL, SANFL and so forth. Chair people, presidents, CEOs, like it's certainly not unusual. I think I was also the first female board member for Sturt Footy Club. We're quite a progressive club. Yeah, absolutely. We, you know, and there were still people that were sort of, you know, a bit unsure about a female CEO. I'm not sure if they've changed their mind. But did you get much resistance in any areas? You don't have to out anyone, but you know, was it because you're essentially walking into a boys' club, not Sturt as it's Sturt Footy Club, but in the whole football thing, you walk into a boys' club. Did you feel like people tried to test you or make you earn your stripes a bit or challenge you? Yeah, there certainly was a bit of that, and you know, then there were comments like my father would turn in his grave if he knew a woman was running the club, and that sort of stuff. But probably the same people that were cheering and having a beer when in 2016, 2017, were they? I don't know, possibly, but there was a lot of scrutiny on me at the time, and I remember, you know, there was quite a bit of media scrutiny of me, and I just had never experienced anything like that before, and it was quite daunting, and I wouldn't answer my phone or oh really? And that for about a week, because I was just quite terrified by it. But yeah, I just I just sort of rolled my sleeves up and thought, oh well, I guess they'll know me by my works and what I do, and if I fail, I'm sure they'll say that this experiment didn't work. But if I succeed, then that'll be a good thing for me, and hopefully for women.
Well, I think we can go beyond succeeding, because it's been a magnificent success, because not only are there a couple of flags there, which is the ultimate, which you're able to achieve, you've now got a financially viable football club and an unbelievable facility at Unley Oval. I mean, I remember Unley Oval when there were just dogs crapping all over it at training, and Phil Carman was going crazy and trying to kick people off, and there were these old cold stands with, tin seats.
Yeah.
And now you look at that Jack Odie stand, and that is just brilliant.
Yeah, it's fantastic, isn't it?
Oh, it's just a fantastic facility.
Yeah. Well, that's not down to me. That's down to a whole bunch of us.
Yeah, of course.
And a lot of that, Jason Killick, his vision for the club, he just would not rest until we got all those facilities in place. So again, I go back to surrounding yourself with really good people, and it was those really good people that have got us into the position that we are in today, off field.
Yep.
And just trusting that those people that are there doing the on-field stuff will likewise be successful.
So how hard is it now to run a SANFL club? You know what I mean? Across the board, because some are still struggling, others are doing quite well. Is it still a really tough challenge in the landscape now?
It is, because, there's this huge gap between AFL and SANFL.
Yep.
And yet we still offer a really great product. But, I sometimes look at, say, American football. You've got the NFL, and then you've got the college system.
Yep.
And, you get some of those college games, 60,000 people and that sort of stuff. But that's their second tier. Our second tier is so far apart from the AFL.
Yep.
Yet the quality of our players is very good. I mean, we beat AFL sides in Adelaide and Port.
Well, you see guys playing 1 week in the SANFL, and then suddenly, they're playing great footy at that top level. So you're right, the gap in standard isn't anywhere near as significant as perhaps the popularity or the community involvement, clearly.
Yeah. And also, there's so much competition these days. When I was growing up, it was football and cricket.
Yep.
Now you've got basketball and gaming, all sorts of things. So everyone's, all of us are competing against each other for people's time.
Yep.
And time's so precious to people. So I find that really quite difficult.
Yeah.
About, okay, how are we going to keep attracting people to the game?
Yeah.
Even though our Sturt crowds are pretty good.
Yeah.
Our Sturt membership is quite healthy, but how do we grow that? To make it really sustainable for the next 25, 50 years.
And I imagine all clubs.
Yeah, they're all going through that, and the SANFL's constantly looking at their strategic planning for the future. All
the boys and the girls essentially pretty good to deal with. You haven't had to get any late night calls to get down the local cop shop or anything like that to get them out of trouble?
Look, there's been I probably don't want to mention it here on air, but there's been a couple of times where a couple of players have sort of come cap in hand and admitted to doing a couple of some things. But
nothing too bad?
No. Not too bad. Not too bad.
And you've been able to negotiate them out of any sort of prickly situations?
Yeah, they're pretty good. They're nothing like when I was growing up. But the trouble that.
Well, the problem now is there's cameras and there's
social media.
Social media. Yes. Does that play a part?
Oh, that's so huge. When I first started at the club, I think we had about 1,600 Facebook followers, and that was a big thing for me. Was I wanted to get that social media.
Yeah. Had you seen a lot of that in the US?
Yep.
Had you seen what like Pebble Beach and all them do?
Yeah, and so I think we're at 25,000.
Yeah, right.
Followers now, and and we sort of are always reviewing it, and we've just hired a new guy that does our digital content, and he's fantastic. So I think that's been a big change since I've been there. How much those socials really, you know, we've got a person in that role now. Where, yeah, it's just amazing how things, you know, women's football coming on.
Yep.
Yeah, there's all the inclusion stuff that, you know, 10 years ago we were just playing, you know, league reserves and junior footy.
Yep.
For boys.
Yeah. Will you be doing this for a while, do you reckon? Well, actually, I'll take it back. So you took the job in what, 2013?
Yes.
Did you have a mindset of how long you might do it, or did you have a goal of I want to get the club to this point and then I'm going to go and do something else? Yeah,
look, I always thought that I would go back into international hotel.
Yep.
But it just hasn't panned out that way, and now I sort of feel like, well, I don't know, as long as they'll have me, maybe I end up retiring in this role, but you know, I guess that's up to the board.
Yeah, right.
But I feel like I've still got a few years left in me.
Well, absolutely, no doubt, because everything you've done has been terrific for the footy club, and
I want that premiership.
Absolutely. Well, one's never enough, is it?
No.
And two's never enough.
No.
And in a great position this year. So, from a little girl at 6, looking at what Flash Graham and Rick Davies and all their little stats, you fast forward and you are now running a club that has been unbelievably successful under you. It's got a whole new look, it's got a whole new feel. Do you pinch yourself about how that sort of evolved? It almost feels like it was part of your destiny, maybe. When you explain what you were like when you were younger.
Maybe it was, but I you know, I look back on that, and I always say that I really respect the history of the Sturt Football Club, but I feel that in my role I have to look to the future.
Yeah. And
so if there's anything, you know, between now and when I eventually do leave or asked to leave, I just want to make sure that we've got, you know, for one of those few times in Sturt's history that we've got this financial security, that we've got some sustainability that'll take us through the next 25 years, rather than handing it over to someone else and them going, oh my God, I can't see through to next year or whatever. So, I know that's Jason's aim as well.
Yeah.
That we hand it over in a really good position.
It sounds like running a SANFL club is a really tough job, because you end up being well, in your case, a Jill of all trades, because you have to do so many different roles. I thought it must be unbelievably rewarding, particularly when you get those premierships. But it's still you know, a massive challenge. Yeah,
you do have to. I mean, we're so under-resourced at SANFL clubs too. So yeah, you do become a Jill Jack of all trades. But I think that only makes you stronger. And you know, I think pressure makes diamonds, and certainly I've got those diamonds around me in the staff, because they don't get to sit on their laurels and be lazy, and that they're always having to, you know, work that bit harder. You know, and nothing against the AFL clubs, but when they come, you know, they got a cast of several. And you know, what we are able to achieve at SANFL level is, I think, quite extraordinary.
Well, I think you should be very, very comfortable in what you've been able to achieve, and there's no doubt. So I think there's still probably a fair bit to come.
Well, yes, hopefully, and as you say, premierships.
Well, exactly. You've already got 2,
and some women's premierships in there.
Absolutely.
As well.
Yeah. Well, you've got 2, so you've essentially become the Queen of Unley, and there might be a couple
people
more.
Who disagree with that.
Well, who can? You can't. You might have had to grind the screws on a few people to get things done, but that's all part and parcel of your role, isn't it?
Yeah, you can't. I think I was speaking to Alison Surgeon recently.
Yes.
She's the president of Westies, and I said, you You can't be a Labrador, Alison. You need to be a Rottweiler.
Yeah.
And you've unfortunately got to upset some people along the way.
Yep.
To do the right thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. You stand by your principles.
Yes. Yeah.
And you're able to achieve success. No, so I think it's brilliant, and just from the work you're doing is amazing, but also too to help break that glass ceiling, and we're seeing so many women involved in football now. I think you can take a lot of credit for that. I know you won't, but you can take a lot of credit for that because you've made it that it's part and parcel. That like we said, you got Alison Surgeon now, who's a young president of the West Adelaide Footy Club.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, Sue, it's been an absolute pleasure. My driving, have you felt nervous, scared,
No, there
or
was
worried?
only one time there, but
just when I got close.
Yeah, you got a bit close, and I thought, whoa. But no, overall,
all okay?
It's been a nice trip around Unley and Adelaide.
We've just been wandering around, just heading down the cobbled streets of King William Road, and you got Unley Road. I mean, you're in a very nice sort of area around here for the Double Blues.
Not too hard, is it?
No, it's I notice Sturt, there's always a very nice level of decorum. Would that be a nice way to put it?
Yeah, yeah. The R.M. Williams and Moleskins. And,
absolutely.
Yes,
yeah, well, Norwood
like
and Sturt
yes.
in the Silver Spoon Cup.
Yes.
And I think, because I've been at Sturt, so you can rip Sturt about that. I did notice that, and you get a different type of experience than you might would at, perhaps another football club that might not be in this particular region.
But you were there when it was pretty hard times too.
It was tough, but it was when I got there. Obviously, Phil Carman had taken over. Chris Redgold, Andrew Geddes, Bruce Lennon, the boys had been on the bottom of the ladder a lot.
Yes.
And I think that first year when we got there, Phil had been able to get a bit of a, I don't know, it was a bit of a sort of group of guys from all different spots and bring them together. And then we started to see a little bit of regular finals footy, and then it obviously culminated in 2002 when Brenton Phillips came in and they got that flag. But geez, Phil Carman and that group, Chris Redgold and them, did an amazing, amazing
They were trailblazers too, and I think it's underestimated the amount of work that Phil did, and I understand that he did the first year for nothing.
Well, Freddie was saying this the other day when we were talking about it. He took the job that no one wanted.
Yeah.
And I think he was running around as the fitness guy.
Yep.
And what an impact he had. And what a beautiful thing was, I know Phil said, everything he achieved in football, some of his most favourite football moments are at the Sturt Footy Club.
Yeah. Did you play that game where we got the first win after about 26?
No, I was playing for Glenelg and Sturt won.
Oh.
I played in the game, I reckon, when Sturt broke a 1-year drought.
Oh goodness! So we hadn't won for 26 games.
There was definitely a game, I think, at the Adelaide Oval.
Yes.
In '96.
Yep.
And I was playing for Glenelg, and Sturt had won after not winning for ages, and I just thought, oh geez, what have we done here? But fortunately, I found myself at Sturt the next year, and it was brilliant.
So
it was
that
fantastic.
game,
yeah.
I was at that game where we won.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it was about 26.
Yeah, it was, you're right, it was well over a year. It was well over a season.
And I was there with all my kids, they were quite younger, and my husband and that. And before I knew it, I hopped the fence.
Did you get out of the ground?
I did.
Couldn't help yourself.
I started running.
Yeah.
And I could hear my kids screaming like, Mum, what are you doing? And as I was running, that dread came over me, like, what am I running to, and what am I going to do when I get there? But fortunately, there were that many other fans that had also hopped the fence. So I think I got to the middle, and I just, high-fived probably Thready and a few others. And then it was the walk of shame back to the to jump back over the fence.
It's not a walk of shame,
It was a walk of shame.
It can't be.
I had to hold my head because everyone was laughing at me.
No, good on you. See, that shows the passion. And then, like we said, that's sort of 96, and then you find yourself 20 years later, you take the club to a flag after they hadn't won a game for more than a season.
Yeah,
that's quite.
Hopefully, I'm not going to do any more of those.
That's quite symbolic.
Things.
No, that's terrific. Well, I'll put it this way: if the Double Blues win the flag this year, right, we'll be calling it on Channel 7. I want to make sure that if the Blues win, I want to see you jump the fence and run out to the centre, okay? Because we'll call that.
Well, I will have a player official pass, so I will.
You'll be fine, because
sure.
it'll be, say, 20 years ago, Sue did this.
Yes.
When Sturt broke their drought for wins, and you're doing it again, right? Is that a deal?
That's a deal.
You're going to run onto the ground and just go straight to the centre and sit there, I don't know what I'm doing, where I'm going.
And I'll give you a thumbs up.
Beautiful. Yeah. And we'll get you on TV.
Yeah.
So thanks so much for being part of the Blues Cruise.
Thank you.
It was great to see. I love your stories too. The best part, Clint. Not Clint Eastwood. Well, Clint.
Oh, Clint.
See, because you and Clint.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I'll send you that photo.
I'm looking forward to it. We'll stick it on here, right? We'll work it out.
Okay.
We'll get Renee to pop it on.
Yeah, okay.
When she does this fine editing work for this. Good on you, Sue.
No worries. Thanks.
Great to have you on it.